All right, look at that. That's fun, right? Yes.
Can you tweet it out so I can steal it?
I have tweeted it. Actually, I scheduled a tweet. So if you look at my Twitter handle right now, there should be a tweet that says, I'm going to try streaming this thing. If you are listening to it, do not watch the stream in this room, because I'm here. You should listen to me, not the thing on the screen.
A room full of people
Now,
doing this?
yeah, if you listen to the thing, it's coming up there. Yeah. If you listen to the thing on the web, like if you want to watch it so you can see the delay, that's cool, but don't listen to it, because if you have your speakers on, then my mic might pick up your speakers listening, and then like what we just saw happen with the screen will happen with the sound also, and then no one will be happy. So the other thing that I do all the time when I teach classes, I used to be on call, but I'm not anymore, and I miss getting interrupted all the time by my phone. So I leave my phone on. So if you tweet at me, my phone will make with the beepy beepy, and you can troll me all day long. There are a couple of prerequisites. Did everybody get the email about the prerequisites for this class? Somebody said yes, but there wasn't one that was sent. No. So somebody's lying, and it's me and that other person who said yes, I got the prerequisites. So here are the prerequisites. I'll make them up as I go along. And if you have them, it's cool, and if not, it's fine. Does everyone here have an SSH client, though, on their laptop? And anyone not know what SSH is? Awesome. It's also, before I go on any further, I want you to know that this is a safe space. If you don't know what SSH is, it's cool. Raise your hand. There are plenty of people here that can help answer that question for you. You should have a good text editor, such as Atom or Sublime or Vim or Emacs or Nano or whatever you want for a text editor. That's actually a lie. I don't think we're going to use any text editor locally. We're just going to SSH and use the Vim or the VI or whatever. It would be nice if you had Git and a GitHub account, but that's completely optional. Although I am putting everything that I do today on GitHub as I go. The slides are already there, and I'll tell you where in just a minute. And all the code that I write, I'll push to GitHub as I write it. So if you don't feel like writing the code, if you'd rather copy and paste, you can do so. So just some quick introductions. As I mentioned, my name is Nathan Harvey. I'm the director of community at a company called Chef, who makes this framework called Chef, but I am not a chef. And you can ask my children, and they will definitely agree. Definitely not a chef. I am also the co-host on a podcast called The Food Fight Show. If you've not listened to it, I highly recommend it, because after listening to me for a day, you are totally going to want to listen to me more. And so you can go and listen to about 85 different episodes with me talking for an hour or so. This is my third year at Lisa. The first year I came, I didn't offer a tutorial, but last year I did, and now I'm doing it again. It's hard to believe that it's the third year, because I feel like DC's Lisa happened this calendar year also, but it didn't, did it? No? It's weird. So today, as we go through, we're going to do a bunch of hands-on stuff. I have some assistants in the room. The lab assistants include the other people that work with me at Chef. There are 2 in the room right now. Could you raise your hands? There's Jennifer and Mandy. So if you run into problems, they'll help out. But guess what else? You are also my lab assistant. So if you run into problems, you can help out. And the cool thing is, for most of you, you're sitting next to someone. And so that person sitting next to you will be your lab assistant, and vice versa. Those of you that were like, I'm going to sit at this table because there's no one else at this table, you get no assistance. You have to do it all on your own. You're not allowed to ask questions of anyone. That, of course, is a complete lie as well. I do lie when I teach classes. I give you misinformation and I tell lies. Usually, I will tell you when I do that, though. Usually. Yeah. Not always. So I'd like to know a little bit about you. What I don't want to do, though, is go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves, because there's enough people that would take up enough time, and then it would be break, and then we wouldn't have done anything before we got to break, and that would suck. So how about just a quick show of hands? How many of you are systems administrators or consider yourselves systems administrators? Imagine that. At Lisa, most of the room is system administrators. How about developers? Awesome. Who's a DevOps in here? All right. Business people? You're all business people. Everyone raise your hand. You are a business person. whether you know it or not. How many of you are managers?
I manage myself.
You manage yourself? That's awesome. Anyone else a manager? No? Yes? It's cool. You can be a manager. You can be proud. It's cool. You don't have to. That's awesome. How many of you have experience with configuration management of any flavor? Great. And experience with Chef? Okay. So when I lie about Chef, those of you that just raised your hand, like, mum's the word. I'll correct it. Just give me a minute and I'll get there. I prefer to teach a class with no experience with Chef because then you don't know when I'm lying, which makes it even more fun for me. Just really quickly, so this morning we're going to start with a bunch of talky-talky, but as soon as we can, we're going to get to hands-on, and you're going to do some labs and start with typey-typey, because that's what you came to do, is make with the typey-typey. So just quickly, I want to run through some of the course objectives. So at the end of today, you will be able to automate some common infrastructure tasks with Chef. So you will have used Chef. All of you that have already used Chef, boom, you've already completed the first objective. But for everyone else, we're going to get you there as well. You'll be able to verify your automation code before you run it in production. The cool thing is, the code you write today, you're not going to run it in any sort of production environment. So if it works, then you verified it before you got to production. But we're going to give you some tools and processes that will show you. I don't answer my phone when it rings, though, and somebody figured that out. We'll verify your automation before it runs in production. You'll look at some of Chef's various tools, and you'll apply some of Chef's primitives to solve your problems. I will not be reading you all of the slides. I expect, as you have questions, that you ask me those questions. And this is a safe space. We're all here to learn, so ask whatever question you have at any time. So when we talk about learning Chef, here's the thing about learning Chef. Most of you are sysadmins. The rest of you are developers. Some of you are both. You know how your applications work. You know how your infrastructure works. Chef doesn't know how your applications or infrastructure work, but you do. You have that expertise. You need to bring that expertise with you as you learn how to do Chef, how to use Chef, because basically you're going to use Chef to automate things. You can't automate what you don't already understand. So we'll work together to help you do that. Chef really is a language. The best way to learn any language is to use that language. If you want to learn Spanish, go to Spain. I hear Barcelona is beautiful. Mandy, is that a good place to learn Spanish? Yes. She says yes. So I will ask you all questions. Of course, I don't know all of your names. I know Mandy and Jennifer and Dominica's names, and I know Ravi's name, and that's like all the names that I know. So they're going to be the ones that are most unlucky. But I might just point at you and say, you there, answer this question. Mr. Bowie, what's your name?
Brian.
Brian. Brian from Bowie. Everyone say hi to Brian.
Hi, Brian.
All right.
All you need.
Awesome. So this training is a discussion. I'm going to do a lot of the talking, let's be honest. But what I really would like is for you to ask questions and you to ask and talk about things that you've experienced and so forth. The thing is, I know about everything that's on this slides or in these slides. So me getting to talk about what's on the slides and doing the labs, not so much fun for me. It's more fun when you ask me questions. So your job today is to make it more fun for me. Does that work for you? I hope so. Yeah, all right. We're going to run into bugs. Do you know why we're going to run into bugs? Because this deck is not on your Lisa USB because I just finished it because I want it to be as fresh as possible when I deliver it to you, which means there might be bugs. And even if there aren't bugs in the deck, you're going to create some bugs because that's what we do. But we'll fix those things on the spot as we go. Today is totally just an introduction. We're going to make sure first this morning that everyone has a general understanding of what Chef is and has done a couple of things with Chef to sort of understand some of the very basic concepts of Chef. Once we understand that, then we'll move into test-driven development with Chef, and we'll explore a bunch of the tools that are in the framework or within the ecosystem that allow us to test our code. Hey, come on in. So we went around the room and everyone did introductions and also showed us the ticket that allowed them to come in. Do you have your registration code? I'm kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time. It's all good. Yes.
Does Chef work with Plan 9?
Does Chef work with Plan 9?
Why?
What's that?
Why?
Why? Yes.
That's the question.
Yes. No, if you ask a question, here's the other thing. If you ask a question and I don't know the answer, I will not bullshit you. That's a promise I make to you. I will lie as I teach the class, but if you ask me a question and I don't know, I will not give you bullshit. Sorry.
I was
Sorry.
giving you an opportunity.
Nope, won't do that. Any discussion that takes us too far off our prescribed path, we're gonna capture it. We'll come back to it as we have time. The cool thing is we're here, like chef people are here all week, so you can find us and ask questions. It's good. All right, so some quick class logistics. If you like, you can follow along. If you go to github.com/NathanHarvey/Lisa14-testing-automation. What you will find there are the slides that I'm walking you through right now, both in PowerPoint and PDF. Some of you grabbed one of the USB sticks and took them off of the USB stick. They're here also. It's much easier for me to give you a virus if you take the USB stick than if you go to the GitHubs though. So you can make your choice and do the one that you feel is best. You will also see there on that URL or within that repository that there are some links to other repositories that are currently empty. As we go through today, we're going to fill in those repositories. And by we, I mean me. I'm going to fill in those repositories so you can see all of that code. It also means that all of this will be available to you after the class as well. So we are streaming this live to YouTube via a Google Hangout until like the network crashes. And if you're watching on the YouTubes, hello, thank you for joining us. And if the connection is shitty, I'm sorry, and I can't do anything about it. But there you go. I'm doing what I can for you. Code will be added to GitHub as we go, but we have a social contract here. Here's our social contract that you all have agreed to. You all read the thing and checked the box and said submit, so I know that you agreed to this. But here's our social contract. I've given you all of the slides, including all of the labs that we're going to do. Our social contract says that you're not going to work ahead of me, because when you work ahead of me, you are likely to get lost or get caught, and then you're going to ask questions or make it really difficult for me to help you get back on track. So our social contract is that you will ask questions as they come to you, but you will stay with the class. You will not work ahead. Now, I understand how difficult a contract this is, because actually I took some training last week and I was the worst student ever. When the instructor started a section, I had just completed that section and started the next section in advance of that instructor, and I didn't really pay attention to him at all. Which was really shitty. I was a really, really shitty student. So I figured this week, instead of being a student, I would be an instructor, because I can do that differently. Maybe I am a shitty instructor. I don't know. You'll tell me at the end of the day. Maybe you already have an opinion on that. I don't know. But so can we all agree to that social contract? Yes? Yes. All right. Good. I'm going to ask you questions throughout the day, and I'm going to expect answers. Sometimes my questions will be super simple, like, can you agree to that? And in which case you can say yes, you can say no, you can abstain. But sometimes they will be more involved questions that might make you think. We'll see. So a quick review of the agenda. We're going to have a quick overview of Chef. That's going to be mostly talky-talky. And then we're going to get into resources. And then we're going to do some hands-on stuff. That will be where we get to our first labs. And we're going to talk about the very basic primitive building blocks that the Chef framework uses. We'll talk about describing policies, look at a sandbox for testing, do all of those things that are on the deck or on this slide. And at the end, we're going to wrap up. And at the end, if we have time, we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about, which will be fun. We will take breaks as often as we need them. Here's the thing about our social contract, or another part, a clause of our social contract. Everyone in this room, as it turns out, we're all adults. So if you need a break, what you should do is get up and take a break. It's cool, and nobody will care. If you're not having fun, if you're not learning anything, if you're not enjoying this experience, you can get up and go. But I really want you to stay, because I want this to be fun for you. But I'm not going to be offended if you get up and leave. I would love the feedback on why you left later, but maybe you're on call and you got called out and you have to do a thing. But everyone in this room agrees that it's cool if you leave. Come and go as you please. We will break at the prescribed times so that you can participate in the hallway track. There are lots of people here at Lisa, and the number is going to grow tomorrow and the next day. But you want to talk to more than just the people in this room. The cool thing about these breaks, though, also is if you have any questions, I will likely hang out and answer those questions for you until everyone has asked all of their questions. There is a little thing that I was asked to remind you of, though. There's a whole list of things here, more contracty stuff. I'm not going to tell you all of them except for the security line. When you leave at breaks and lunch, there's a high probability that I won't still be in the room. So you should take your stuff with you. If you don't, it's cool, but it might not be here when you get back, which would not be cool. Unless, like, what you really want is the full week off. Like, boss, sorry, I'm at the conference. Somebody stole my laptop. I'm just going to go to sessions and write notes with my hands. Get me a new laptop. If that's what you want, then just leave your stuff. Yes. So we talked about the prerequisites already. Yeah. So also in this GitHub repository, there's a file called questions. So if you have questions and you're like, oh, I'm shy, I don't feel like speaking up, or that guy won't shut up, I can't get a word in edgewise, just submit a pull request against that GitHub repo and ask your question there. And then periodically throughout the day, me or one of my assistants will check the questions list and we'll pause and answer those questions. And also my assistants, if you hear a question that gets asked, maybe you could help me by capturing it on the questions list so that we can maybe incorporate that as we go on. All right, before we get into an overview of Chef, what questions can I answer for you about what we're going to do today, what the course looks like? All right. Yes. Yes.
We're talking about setting up sandbox by the end of the day. What is the scope of what the examples of?
Okay.
How broad? What are we talking about?
Yeah. Sure. So our example, like the labs that we're going to work through, are going to be like super ridiculous simple labs. But what they're going to do is give us a broad survey of the tools in the ecosystem and how we can use those tools to test more complex things. So at the end of the day, I will be honest with you. And I said that sometimes I lie, but when I say I'm going to be honest, I'm not lying. So I'm going to be honest with you. At the end of the day, what you're going to have is a static web page that you automated with Chef, which is probably more than what you want to do with Chef. But we're going to look at all of the testing framework, all of the testing tools that help verify that that's the case. And with that knowledge, you'll be ready to do something that's much more complex. And at the end of the day, if we have time, you tell me what project you want to do, and we'll start working on that. Jennifer.
So I'm going to ask a question that I already know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you can go back one slide.
Mm-hmm. I think I can.
Because there is an assumption here. What is a PR, Nathan? Can you tell us?
Oh, a PR is a pull request.
How many people use Git?
Is it? All right. If you don't use Git or GitHub, let's just do this really quickly here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna come over here to my GitHub. I'm gonna go to this repositories and see this Lisa testing your automation thing here. There's a questions file here. So I click here, and I can actually, oh, you have to sign in to GitHub to do this. So if I were signed in, I don't want to sign in because then I would have full permissions to. But if I were to sign in, I could then edit this file and write a question there and then hit submit, and that would submit a pull request for me. So if you use Git and GitHub, you're like, dude, I use Git and GitHub. I would use it from the command line. I would not do that from the browser. That's cool. But if you've not used Git and GitHub before, just get a GitHub account while you're sitting here and I'm making with the talkie-talkie. Come to this page, drop your question on there. Jennifer, does that answer your question?
That totally answers my question.
And are you good in the back there? You asked a question. I didn't make sure that you were solid with the answer. All right. You're like, well, I wanted more, but that's what we're going to do. So that's what we're going to do. That's cool too. Like, yes, you answered my question. No, I'm not satisfied. Right? That's cool. We'll see. Right? All right. So let's do a quick overview of Chef. I'm going to go as fast as I can through this stuff. And if I'm going too fast, tell me. Or if I'm going too slow, also let me know. So Chef is a framework that allows us to do policy-based infrastructure as code. So why do we want to automate? We want to automate so that we can realize some benefits of automation, such as speed, scale, and consistency. So as we think about our infrastructure, we need to move away from the days of where we did everything by hand. How many have ever done everything by hand in an infrastructure? Hell yeah, right? So honestly, the way I became a sysadmin was I got hired as the director of customer support at a startup that was a stealth startup. Here's the cool thing about stealth startups. They don't have a product that they talk about. So being the director of customer support, if you don't have a product, guess what else you don't have? Customers, right? So it was actually brilliant. I got hired as a director to be a customer support director, and there were no customers calling on the phone. I was living large, like I'm in the startup world now, this is gonna be awesome. 3 days after I was hired though, the CEO came to me and said, hey, those Russian developers that built the prototype, that got us funding, that allowed us to hire a director of customer support. I said, yeah, I know those guys, they're kind of cool. He's like, no, they are not. We hate them, we just fired them. And so then like the cold sweats started, because now I'm in a startup and we just fired our entire development team. So what am I gonna do? I'm never gonna have customers to support, kind of okay, but not really. So he said, don't worry, you don't have to build a product. We've hired in a firm to take the prototype and turn it into a real product. But we're going live in 8 weeks. Build us a production infrastructure, go. And so that day I became a sysadmin, and that day I absolutely did everything by hand. And for the next 8 weeks, I absolutely did everything by hand. And for the next 2 years at that company, I absolutely did everything by hand. And then later I found Chef, and I was very happy. The crazy thing was though, it's not like I found Chef later. While I was busy managing my infrastructure by hand and a bunch of SSH connections, I heard about Chef, and people had told me how awesome it was, and I'd also heard about Puppet and how great it was, and how like automation is going to save your life. And I honestly said these words: I don't have time to automate. I have to keep working because I don't have time to automate. Who said that before? Thank you. You can lie too sometimes if it makes me feel better. You can lie. You can say, what's that?
I've had it said to me, but not so.
You've had it said to you. All right.
The first sysadmin job I had, we already used configuration management, so I then went in and used it elsewhere and had to find to get
Excellent. Yeah, there's no time to automate, dude. Like,
or document.
Things will go wrong. Oh, forget documents. Documentation, that's ridiculous talk. But let's talk about scale for a minute, because sometimes when you say scale, you just think about the number of servers. And really there are a bunch of dimensions to scale and when you might need automation. Scale might be just the number of servers that you have. How big is your infrastructure? But it might also be the complexity of your infrastructure. How many different applications do you have running in your infrastructure? It might be the size of your team, and it might also be the speed at which you need to deliver your applications to your customers. So I definitely found myself in this place where I didn't think I needed automation, still didn't think I needed automation. I got to a scale where I absolutely needed automation, but then it was way over here in time when I actually realized that I needed automation, and it was like way too late. There's this big delta. So if I had started with automation earlier, I would have been much, much happier. So these are some of the dimensions of scale that Chef will help us out with. And really, it's not just Chef. It's any automation platform. What you'll get from a good automation platform is something that will create a dependable view of your entire network state. So what is the current state of my infrastructure? What are the applications that are deployed? What are the servers that are running? And so forth. You have to be able to handle the complex dependencies among the nodes in your network. And complex dependencies might be something simple like there's a load balancer and then there are some web servers. So which web servers should that load balancer talk to? I need a framework that's going to help me solve that. It has to be fault tolerant and secure. You have to be able to handle multiple platforms. How many of you work in a homogeneous environment where all of your infrastructure is Ubuntu? Is that your infrastructure? Is it Ubuntu? What a guess. Is yours Ubuntu also?
Yeah.
All Ubuntu.
Pretty much.
Yeah. How many work in exclusively Windows environment? It's a mix, right? How many of you work in an environment where there's a mix of Linux and Windows? And Solaris. And HPUX. Yeah, so we need a framework that can support all of these various platforms. You also need a framework. It's fun, it's cool, it's a framework that can manage your cloud resources, because clouds burn, so you need a framework to go along with them. How many of you deploy stuff to a cloud, private or public cloud? All right, cool. And of course, you need a foundation for innovation. Chef itself is infrastructure as code. So what does it mean to be infrastructure as code? When I say infrastructure as code, there are a couple of things that I think about that go off in my mind. First, I should be able to programmatically provision and configure the components within my infrastructure. So how do I go from nothing to a fully realized application infrastructure? Second, I should treat it like any other code base. Now, when I say treat it like any other code base, what do you think I mean there? This is the part where you get to participate. You can just shout it out.
Source code control.
Source code control. So we should put it in source code control. Awesome. How many of you are still using copy foo.back as your source code control system? It's cool if you are. Actually, it's not. Like, what you should do, is there a Git tutorial today? There isn't, is there? You should stop learning Chef, dude. Like, go to the back of the room, go to learngit.com or whatever the place to learn Git is, and learn Git. Like, start there, honestly. Like, I'm not shitting you. Like, it's okay, you can listen to me today. Okay. But honestly, if you take away one thing, you have to start versioning everything that you do. Start using a proper version control system. All right. That's a really scary part of the day for me. I hate when like, I want to give you a hug. And I want you to start learning version control right now, okay? You promise me you'll do that. All right, good. Who wants to help Robbie learn some version control this week? Like, anyone here will help you learn it. How many of you also were like, I don't need to learn any version control, this copy to back is fine. Like, I was like that for a long time. Some people not like, no, you started your job as a sysadmin with configuration management. Of course you started with version control, that's good. So what version control systems do you use? Git? Subversion, did I hear Subversion? Yeah. Do you use the Git SVN plugin? You should. What else? TFS? Okay.
We've been training our devs to start using Tortoise Git.
Tortoise Git?
Because
okay.
It makes them happy in their GUI place. Okay, cool. See, this is me not saying things that could be construed as not nice. Source tree is very nice. Absolutely. See, that was a nice thing to say. Well, they've already been using Tortoise SVN. Yeah. Tortoise gives them the same tool they already have.
Yes.
The Git repository, which I'm provisioning. So
it's nice. I definitely was on many teams who were using Subversion and resisted the urge to go to Git, just like I resisted the urge to automate. And I will tell you that every single one of them that moved to a distributed version control system, whether it's Git or Mercurial or whatever, you end up happier on the other side of that transition. Anyone disagree with me?
No, but I have a version control system that works, and I want to go for that.
Yeah, I understand. Like, this tool works for me. Why do I need to innovate here? I want to innovate higher up the stack. Yeah, I get that. You should move to Git. Yeah. Like, yeah. Cool. All right, so if we're treating it like any other code base, we're absolutely putting it into a version control system. What else are we doing with it? We're testing it. Why do we test our code? To make sure that it doesn't break, sure.
Make sure it makes the changes you want.
Make sure it makes the changes you want, right? Because one of the things that we're going to do, I think I'm putting words in your mouth now. But one of the things we're going to do after we write the code is we're going to change the code, right? We're going to refactor that code. And so if we have tests that give us some safety as we refactor our code, that's going to be very good. In fact, the thing that's most important in my mind about treating it like any other code base is to understand what a code base really is and what code actually is. And in my mind, code is a continual experiment. You're never done. How many of you wrote code a year and a half ago? Any kind of code. How many of you, if you pulled up that code today, would be like, that is the best code I ever wrote? All right, 2 of you you guys are awesome. Like, that's great. I think you're lying to yourself, but it's cool. It's cool. As long as you believe it, it's totally fine, right? The thing that we do with code is we refactor it all the time. And so having tests in place allow us to safely refactor our code. So that's super important. I'm just checking my list to make sure I've mentioned everything else. What else? You know, another thing we do with code is we build artifacts with code, right? So there's source code. How many of you build packages? You know, like RPMs or devs or whatever, right? So you take the source code and you turn it into a package. We're going to do the same with our chef code. It might not really feel like we're packaging it per se, but we actually are. And that's an important thing that you should do with your code also. And your devs that like the GUI, they probably don't want to package anything up either, right? Like, I mean, the startup I was at was a Rails shop, right? Do Rails developers package their code? I don't know if you know this. They do not, right? What you do is you check it out from Git in production, and then it works, and it's totally fine. Yeah, that doesn't make anyone uncomfortable, does it? No, it's totally fine. What's the worst that could possibly happen? I can tell you a couple of the worst things that could possibly happen. Let's see. So when we're managing our infrastructure as code, we can now rebuild our entire business with 3 things. And when I say our entire business, of course, what I mean are our business applications. If we have our source code repository, or probably source code repositories, plural, if we have a backup of our data and we have compute resources, we can rebuild our infrastructure. We can rebuild all of our business applications. I will tell you, there was a day, you know, I started my life as a sysadmin with 8 SSH windows open, copying and pasting 7 times, right? And then pasting a 9th time into the wiki because that was going to save me later, right? I was wrong, but it sure felt good to paste it into the wiki. But there was a day later in my career as I grew up when I realized that the next change I make in my production environment was going to start with a commit to my Git repository. That day I felt free. I felt really, really good that day, and I felt that great ever since, because that's the proper way to do things. So that's infrastructure as code. What questions can I answer for you, or what else do you think it means to manage your infrastructure as code? Any other comments?
And actually something that really wasn't directly pertinent, but
yeah.
I like change management ticketing. I really do. I like that visibility, just to be able to search and see what changed that everybody can see without checking out code.
Absolutely.
CM in the last week.
Yes.
First thing I look for when something's broken, I look at our CM queue and our ticket.
Something breaks.
Use RT.
Something breaks. What happened? What's changed, right?
And it's possible somebody didn't put in a ticket, but we're pretty well trained out of that by now.
Awesome. Yes?
Changes where you need approval from another team.
Changes where it needs approval from another team, yes.
You're like, hey, make this change in your system so I can make my change.
Yes. Is that a question or just a statement? Like,
More a statement. It comes up in a lot of environments where I want to automate everything, then I have to like wait for a human response.
Shit.
It's in the middle.
I've got everything automated and I still have to talk to people. Damn it. That's not why I became a sysadmin. I want to stop talking to people.
That's why you put the other team in the repository.
Yeah. So you make sure that everyone is, you know, of course, coordination is still a thing that has to happen, right? Automation is great, but you have to talk to one another and you have to understand, like, are there prerequisites, right? We can't just change this app if this one isn't ready to consume the changes or whatever, right? It's still a real thing. And having the code to help you with that conversation definitely helps. Also, having tests help with that, a big deal. Yeah. What else would anyone care to share or ask? Yes?
So when people use Chef, they do code reviews?
When people use Chef, do they do code reviews?
Because that's something developers do.
Yeah, like code, you should absolutely do code reviews. When people use Chef, do they do code reviews? Some people do, yes. Not all people do. The ones that do approach it from, you know, like that are looking at it like a profession, absolutely, you should do code reviews. Yeah. Those of you that are doing any sort of configuration management, do you do code reviews? Yeah. Yes, no. Do you have other sysadmins on your team? You do testing afterwards. When you say afterwards, do you mean when it's in production, like monitoring? Or you mean, what's that?
Before it goes to everything, it goes to something.
Okay, awesome.
Phase.
So a phased rollout, maybe? Yeah.
Push it to the users we don't like and see if it works. And then it just-
That's right.
Is that like the Dos Equis guys that don't often test my code?
That's right. When I do it in production. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. So the other thing that we said about Chef was that it was policy-based. So what does it mean to be policy-based? Basically, what we're going to do is capture the policy for our infrastructure. What do we want the shape and size of our infrastructure to look like? What is the end goal? I don't necessarily need to capture, like, what are the steps to get from A to B? What I want to capture is this is the desired state of my infrastructure. And so when Chef runs, it will make sure that each node within your infrastructure is complying with the policy that you've captured within your Chef code. Again, if what I'm saying is unclear, ask the questions. It's cool. So Chef provides us a domain-specific language, DSL, that will allow you to specify the policy for your infrastructure. Now, as it turns out, this Chef DSL is written in Ruby. How many of you are Ruby programmers? All right, cool. The nice thing, how many of you are afraid of Ruby? It's cool, you can be afraid of Ruby, yeah. You know what? Only the Ruby programmers are afraid of Ruby. That must mean that the rest of us don't know something. Maybe we should be afraid, right? It's cool. Like Ruby is it's a fun language. It's a nice language to work in. You'll be happy there. And if you know no Ruby, you can still do Chef. And I will teach you all the Ruby that you need to know to build a static HTML page today. I'll also teach you some HTML if you don't know that. Maybe. So yeah. But the nice thing about the domain-specific language that Chef gives you, in that it's being Ruby, is that within the Ruby ecosystem, there are a ton of libraries and utilities that you can use directly within your Chef recipes as you write them out, or within your policy. So your policy is going to describe the desired state, and it can be statically or dynamically defined. All right, that's our very, very like 50,000-foot overview of Chef. And most of what I said there does not apply exclusively to Chef. It applies to Chef and Puppet and Ansible and the configuration management tool that you wrote yourself in-house at your company. All of this should apply, right? You smiled there a little bit. Do you have a?
I didn't write on some. So where my first job, we would use something called config build, which was based on something that Oxford University wrote, and that was all in Perl, and it was different to things to check up because we built all of the configuration files we built on your local host, and then the files were checked into Git, and then there was a system on the host put at Git and then deployed the files.
Yes.
So it was kind of nice in a way because you knew what the config files were going to look like before they got anywhere near the node.
Right.
So it kind of took away a little bit of the testing side of it. For doing it check way.
Yeah. But also you were writing Perl. That's fun.
Yeah, but sometimes you're fun.
It's writing Perl is fun. Reading Perl not so much.
Writing Perl. Okay. So we had to write Perl that it could be read.
Yeah, that does make things less fun. How's it going, Rick?
Well, I have a request.
Sure.
Apparently you're live streaming.
Mm-hmm.
We can't pass them off.
Oh, okay. I can stop that. No problem.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks so much. It's got this urgent quality, this weird thing.